So I want to welcome and thank each one of you that are here tonight on this loving kindness meditation workshop that we'll be going through tonight, both those that are here live with us and also those that can't be with us live, but will be reviewing the workshop that we're recording tonight along with the slides that we have. We just want to thank each one of you. It seems like in our culture these days, the need for loving kindness, both for ourselves and compassion in the universe is a growing need. And so it's interesting, there were 50 people that signed up and either to be live or here. So it's neat that we're part of this growing community of people that are really seeking the tools of loving kindness. So I thought to get started, rather than jump in, let's just take a moment to be here now, to just maybe close your eyes if you'd like to. Just be still. Just allow yourself to be here in this moment, arriving here now. Maybe focus your attention on your heart area, your heart space. What do you notice? And if you would, just bring a gentle smile to your face, just a little smile of happiness, peace. And then if you would, just repeat after me. I'll say it 3 times, and each time after I say it, if you want to repeat it, just a simple mantra. May I be here now. Feel free to repeat it.
May I be here now. 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 May I be here. May I be here now. 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 May I be here. May I be here now. May I be here. May I be here.
May we be here now. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for just taking that moment to be present to yourself, to us. What you just experienced in a very short form is a loving kindness practice, some of the pieces of it. And we'll find out why it's so simple. And my hope is that whether you've done loving kindness practice before, whether you've never experienced it, a beginner, a novice, an experienced, that tonight, my hope is what you'll take away are some really cool tools from the different teachers that I've leaned into over the years that not only allow you to take this practice, if it resonates with you, into your daily meditation practice, but also, just as importantly, to recognize it can become a lifestyle, a pattern of living as you draw more deeply into the essence of divine love within you, which is who we are, the essence, the I am who we are. So that's my hope, is that you'll walk away with tools for the practice, but also something that you can move into as a way of life as you move into the active part of the day each day. So tonight, what we'll go through is I'll just invite us to just introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and maybe what you hope to experience. What do you hope to learn or experience from this evening? Then we'll go through some background and teachings. This will be the nuts and bolts of where in the heck does this loving kindness, how did I stumble upon it? More importantly, what are the components of it that we can draw on and learn from the teachers that have offered it in different ways that we'll experience today. We'll actually do a guided loving kindness meditation so we can experience it. We'll talk about what that was like for us as we experienced it. Usually you'd spend about 30 minutes each day in a loving kindness practice. We obviously won't spend 30 minutes, but maybe, 5, 10 minutes, and just give ourselves an opportunity to, after we experience and discuss it. And then we'll talk about just an invitation that if this practice resonates with you, a way to dive deeper into a loving kindness circle. So yeah, so if we want to just go around, tell us your name, where you're from, and if you'd like to, what are your hopes for tonight? What would you like to walk away from this evening? Anybody want to share?
All right, I'll start. Randy Portalery. I'm from Grand Haven, Michigan. Off of the few off of Lake Michigan. And what I want to get out of this is to be able to control my levels of anxiety and to be at peace with myself and my surroundings.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you. A common need for all of us. Thank you, Randy. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Carrie Castle here. I am in northern Canada. It is actually warmer here now.
Whoa.
We just finished a stint of an ice box, so I'll say that for sure. And I live in a beautiful sort of sanctuary in terms of surrounded by trees, animals, nature, and a wolf that lives next door. And so I do spend a lot of time in connection and solitude. So my reason for being here is in community. So connecting deeper to myself for sure, but extending that now more so into community. I'm fortunate to be with Mary Morrissey, if anybody's familiar with her, who life mastery consultant, divine. There's a lot of community there, but I'm just trying on different shoes, I guess we'll say. I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, an author that wrote some of that into a book that's behind me that appears wherever I go. And so what next? And you and I, Brian, we've had sort of a connection like this over the last while, and I was a guest in one of your blogs, so I'm here to be inclusive with you again.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Yeah, yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Glad that wolf is sounds like a friend to you, which is good.
He's great. I call him Jack.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Gary. Glad you're here.
I'm Seth Miracle. I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've had a couple conversations over the last couple of weeks of just how we can, as people, experience the presence of God without becoming like addicted to the dopamine or the experience, but just living with the presence of God is here, the divine is here, and we're able to experience that love and also show that love to others. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping to get out tonight, is to just expound on that personally.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you, Seth. Yeah. And we're hoping for a miracle to be present with us tonight. You're our miracle. I bet you get that all the time, don't you? It's a good thing. Anybody else?
I'll go. I'm Susan, and I'm also in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So Michigan is well represented here tonight. And I ran across Brian, an article that you had written. I think it was in a recent a magazine my mom gets called Faith Magazine.
Sure.
And I was like, wow, this is written. And my mom has dementia, and we were kind of reading the article together, and then we would stop in little sections and discuss it. And it was like a really good discussion. And sometimes anybody who knows, who's been through that, knows that some days there's more clarity. Some days it's just, like they're back in their childhood or something. But it was just a great discussion. And as, not so coincidentally, but I have been, finding ways back into spirituality and and wanting a more personal relationship with God, and looking for some kind of spiritual community too. So that's why I'm here.
Very cool. Wow. Thank you, Susan. I love the fact that you and your mom, almost like Alexio Divina with the article. That's very cool.
It was really cool. It really was.
That's neat. That's neat. Glad you're here. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
So Lynn or Cam, who would like to go next?
I can go ahead.
Thanks, Lynn.
Sorry, something's happening to my screen. There we go. My name's Lynn Johallen. Like I said earlier, I'm in Lafayette, Indiana, where Purdue University is. And I guess from a personal point of view, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, which is the need to succeed. So I beat myself up constantly. So on a personal level, some loving kindness would be helpful. But I also lead, I'm in the 12-step program. And so I lead a recovery meditation here in town every Wednesday. And so I'm just trying to learn more, get some more knowledge so that I can share it with those folks. There's about 45 people that they don't all always attend, but they always get the invitation and whatnot. So usually about a dozen people show up. So it's very worthwhile.
Wow, very neat. Yeah. Wow. The ripple of water in the water that you are to all those people that you touch. That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Glad you're here, Lynn.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. You're a bigger ripple than I am.
Yeah, I don't know. We're all just seeds. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Cam. I am from New Jersey originally, but I am now nomadic. So I guess I'm everywhere and nowhere all at once. I kind of get to follow the energy and let it guide me, which is a really exciting way to live, just in that surrendered state. And yeah, I'm here tonight to just continue to deepen my practice in loving kindness. It's something I've personally been practicing myself for several months, and I've seen its transformative impacts on my own life and my ability to connect with the essence of who I am. And yeah, so just having some type of regular practice with others, I think, is also really helpful because it just creates that amplification effect. And so community is certainly a part of this for me as well. I've found that on this awakening journey, there's times when you're drawn into solitude and you walk the path alone, and there's certainly a necessity to that. But at the end of the day, I'm realizing that we're here to share this experience, and we're here to connect with others and to enrich that experience through community. So, just meeting new people who are looking and open to connect with love and God, the divine. Yeah, that's my impetus.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you, Cam. Yeah. Yeah. And on your nomadic journey, where are you today? You're in what?
I'm Virginia right now. Yeah.
Virginia. Okay. Is that what you say? Yeah. There you go. Wow. That's amazing. I wish when I was your age, I would have been a nomad myself. I mean, it may not have ended up with 65 years old with a wife of 40 years and 4 kids, but yeah, it would have been a wild experience. I resonate with your amazing spirit, which is really cool. So yeah. So yeah, I'm Brian Plekta, live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. My previous background, I call it my tent making job, was as an attorney here in Grand Rapids. Great profession. Funny thing is, when I was in college, I was discerning to be a priest or a lawyer. Talk about a dichotomy, And I met my wife at that time. I'm Catholic, and fell in love with her, and through a good priest that helped me discern what path to go down. I figured the Catholic Church wasn't going to change and allow me to be married, so God was leading me down the lawyer path. But I always had this sense of God just leading me. I lost my dad when I was 16 to cancer, so God became a big deal to me, and went on in law school and then became a lawyer. Felt called to really become a layperson of spirituality, to be in the ditches. And so a Dominican Center here in Grand Rapids is an amazing place. Some of you in Grand Rapids might be aware of it. And this good sisters really in my 30s, taught me a lot about the contemplative journey. They taught me a lot about spirituality, the experience of God, not the intellectual so much, but going deeper. Got a master's in pastoral counseling, became a spiritual director. And I just I'm a one on the Enneagram. So, I'm constantly trying to fix the universe and myself. I'm probably a project always for myself. And what I love to do is to learn new things. And then as I learn them and integrate them, I get excited to teach them. And not that I have any magic formula, but that I really think that, we're each other's teachers. And so creating an opportunity like we have tonight, I often look at each one of us has a wisdom and experience of life. We've already shared some of that and we learn from each other. And so that community piece is important to me. So, my hope for tonight is just that we experience this loving kindness meditation and lifestyle. And those that want to go deeper, that's why we'll talk about the loving kindness circle that we'll try out for 3 months, if that's something that's life-giving. So let me share my screen again. And so kind of by way of background, I've been the good sisters, and when I was in my 30s, I grew up with a good understanding of God intellectually, but I wanted to go deeper. And that's when I through a number of God nudges, a number of people began meditating on a regular basis. And I've probably been on a daily meditation for about 30 years now. And I wanted to go deeper. There's a sense of I've never felt like I was home. I felt like I was in a garden with meditation. Like, oh, I try a little bit of, you think of a big garden, there's petunias. So, oh, I think I'll try Lectio Divina, for a while. And then there's centering prayer. Oh, I'll go over the roses and smell the roses. And they're all good things. And oh, then there was the Jesus prayer. I'll do the Jesus prayer for a little bit, and then I'll do the breath prayer. And they're all wonderful experiences. And they're great practices. But I didn't have that sense. It's like I would sit in my meditation time, for 30 minutes, an hour, however long, basically. And I would have not always these perfect experiences of God and the divine, but it was always a place of feeling like I was home in my heart space. But then I'd leave, my meditation practice and go, oh, really? I have to go into the world today? It's like, seriously, can I just sit here? And so there was like this division between, Richard Rohr would say, the contemplative part of my life and the active part of my life. And I couldn't quite bridge the two. And so I was always looking for a way, I would call it, for a deeper wholeness, mind, body, and spirit within me. In the Buddhist tradition, they might call enlightenment, that I wanted to, not that we ever reach enlightenment in this lifetime, perhaps. Some do, Jesus and the Buddha did, I'm sure. But, just I wanted to experience that being home to my heart space and carry that into the day and find a practice that I could use. I wanted to really awaken to, as I learned from Cam, and live from my truest self in God. I recognized, looking back, as we all do, I picked up different onion skins. I'm a lawyer, so that became my ego. Well, yeah, that's what I do, but it's not who I am. I'm a father, or, I'd be offended when people would say things that didn't support my perception of myself. So I wanted to also pull back some of those onion skins. And so, the saying from Lao Tzu is that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I think that's so true for most of us, if we're aware of that. In the Eastern tradition, there's always a teacher. That's always an important part. I mean, Jesus was called rabbi, teacher. The Buddha, was a teacher. Our modern teachers, Rohr, Thomas Merton, some of the writers that we follow, Christian and non-Christian. And it was like, I was looking for, how do I go deeper? And again, through a series of God nudges, I met Cam here. And I just stumbled upon some posts he had about ego death on his Awakenpedia Instagram, and it just resonated to me. I was going through a really tough time with a legal separation that I had with an ex-business partner of mine, and it was like, wow, that's what I'm going through, is an ego death. It's a spiritual opening. So I started, following Cam on his website, and there's the link to it if you're interested in looking more. And then I said to Cam, would you be a coach for me, a life coach? Once a month, a couple times a month, we would meet on Zoom and continue to do that, just to help me really unpack the true meaning of what it means to awaken or remember who we are. Because it's weird, at 64 years old, and I think a lot of us go through that, particularly when I retired from full-time practice of law and my kids left. It's like I had this thing of, I really don't know who I am anymore, and it was like a kind of a scary thing, but actually it was a good thing because it caused me to dive deeper into discovering and, what is remembering, awakening to that. From a Christian perspective, I began to awaken to what Christ taught us, that we are the incarnation of God's divine love, that God not only walks alongside of us, the divine not only walks alongside of us, but is in us. And what does that mean to say, wow, it's like, you're like, wow, God lives, the divine lives within me. I'm the essence of God's divine love. And as some have taught me, some of my own students have taught me, we are the essence of God's divine love, not the fullness of God's divine love, but we are the essence. And so awakening to that. And so Cam actually introduced me to the loving kindness meditation practices from the sutras, taught by Bhante. I can't pronounce his last name, but Bhante has a ton of practices. And here's a picture of him. He passed away last year. I've never met him personally, but he has tons of him and the meditation center he started in St. Louis has tons of free videos on YouTube. And so what he practiced meditation for 50 years. He was a monk in Asia and throughout the Eastern world, came to the USA, and he says, I think that we've made what the Buddha taught too complicated, and the Western culture has kind of screwed it up, basically. So he wrote several books, and he literally began to find what he called this tranquil wisdom insight meditation, TWIM, he called it. And his students would say, and that's what I'm experiencing as I learned from him, that he taught a way, a direct path to wisdom and awakening as taught by the Buddha, by teaching a very simple but very highly comprehensive and effective practice. There's his website or the organization's website, the Dhamma. I can't even pronounce it, but if you're interested, it'll lead you into a number of YouTube talks. And there's actually an online self-guided meditation teaching 10-day retreat. And I took that. It was like I found home again. I found this place within me. I loved what Bhante says. Is he said that practicing loving kindness is fun to do. It's neither difficult nor a test of endurance, but it's a joy-filled journey on the middle path of clarity, joy, and wisdom. And I love this phrase. He says, if you can smile, meditation is easy. And I love this picture of this little kid, because that smiling is really a return to that innocence, that pure, soul, the essence of who we are. We'll find out, it's a huge part of the simple practice that he teaches. He didn't teach theory or scholarship, which I liked. He really taught a practice that we can, whether you're a beginner or someone that's more experienced, looking to go deeper. It's about an effective meditation practice that we practice on a daily basis in our practice, but then we can carry into the day. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, thank you. I found a bridge between that contemplative practice during the day or during the morning time into the day, that I can practice and begin to awaken to that deeper self. He said that there needs to be results in our meditation practices. There has to be a change in our mental, emotional, in our personality, and a shedding of some of those layers of the mind-made self, as Cam has taught me, the false ego that we do basically. And so the one thing that I think is important to recognize, because some people will say, oh, let me go backwards here. Some people say, wait a minute, are we taking the Buddhist tradition and we're trying to convert ourselves to the Buddhist path? And first of all, I think it's important to recognize, which I love about, is that Buddhism is not a religion. There's no religious, it's not like it's some of our major religions, which our major religions are great if we resonate with them, but it's more a way of life. It's something, a pathway to enlightenment, to awakening, to that wholeness that we seek, that inner peace, and stuff. And so I look to my teachers. For me, Thomas Merton, a Catholic monk and priest, he for me, from the Christian tradition, he showed a keen interest in dialogue with the religions of Asia, Hinduism, Sufism, Buddhism. And he loved the dialogue with them, not to learn their doctrines and beliefs, perhaps, but to focus on the practice and experience. How do I take, what I learned? He had these meetings with the Dalai Lama. And when Merton died, the Dalai Lama said, Merton was not only my friend, he's kind of the first Christian I ever met, basically. So they weren't there to convert each other. They were there to learn from each other and remain grounded in their faith tradition. So what I put here is that the practice of loving kindness supplements, it does not replace our faith tradition, it just enriches it. In essence, we can learn from other traditions how to experience our faith in a deeper, more experiential way. And for trying to be a good Catholic, I go back to my Vatican II, and the Vatican II really opened the door to the world and said, the Catholics or Christians, all of us can recognize there is good in every religious tradition. So it kind of says it's okay to deepen our personal experience of God, that personal relationship that some of you mentioned that we all long for. And so we can learn, but again, the invitation is to stay grounded in our faith. When I was learning the Dominican Center, the good Dominican sisters and there was Protestants, there was ministers, there was lay people, and all kind of people. I remember walking to my first class at Dominican Center years ago, and like, oh my God, I'm with the giants. I felt like nothing, basically. And the beauty of it is the good sister says, we're going to teach all these religious traditions and contemplation from a Catholic tradition. So stay rooted in whatever your tradition is, but it can be expanded to whatever tradition that you find. So stake the ground, you learn what you can, or as my dad used to say, use what you can use and throw the rest away, basically. So I think that's how we approach it. We let the spirit, what we need, we chew on, and it becomes part of who we are. And that's what my hope is, that we approach tonight, whatever tradition we're in, or no tradition, just spiritual but not religious, that we find this as something that we can really help us on our path of deeper growth. Kind of the key concepts the other day in my meditation time, I found myself like I'm grasping for. There was a friend that I been kind of once in a while we'd hang out together and and he just was absent. He just never text back and and I found myself doing exactly what the Buddha says causes suffering, is craving or being attached to this. I needed to develop this friendship. And as I sat there, I thought, wow, I'm looking outside of myself. And what rose up with me was, the greatest love is inside of you. And the greatest love I actually put into capital letters is God, the divine, whatever it is, the essence, a higher power. It's inside of you. So stop looking for it outside, and that sense of that truth began to change everything. So again, as my students have taught me, we are the essence of God, not the fullness of God. So to claim, Meister Eckhart says, we are not God, but we are not other than God. That paradox, basically. But I love the way this is. We are the essence of God, not the fullness of God, and that God is love. And God created us in God's image and likeness, and of divine love. So that divine love lives in us, as us. And that's what this loving kindness meditation practice is drawing us into, this deeper, almost a bodily connection, a somatic felt experience of what does that love feel like inside of me? What does it feel like to claim, wow, I am the essence of God's divine love in human form? And so what I realized, and that's what part of the loving kindness meditation is grounded in, a concept is we can access and experience that divine love dwelling in us, as us, through the meditation on the felt experience of love. The Bhante often refers to as the object of our meditation is this felt experience of love that we return to, basically. So those are kind of the key components of that. So the question is, okay, what is this felt experience of love? That's really kind of the core of one of the of where we empty ourselves to experience. And I would just say that it's unique for each one of us. It is real, each one of us perhaps have experienced that. And some of you are shaking your head. Yeah, I know what I know that I know that I know what that is. I can't intellectually explain it. It surpasses understanding because it's beyond human knowledge, because it's divine. And it's a mind, body, spirit awakening. And so what the loving kindness meditation practice does, and the beauty of it when we do it in community like tonight, is we're able to put language around it, metaphors, words. So you might experience, and it's not always the same. It might be a radiating light or a glow within your heart space. Like you just feel this warmth, like if you're holding a baby, or holding a kitty cat or a dog. It's like just this glowing light or radiating within your heart space, that sense of warmth. Today, one of my meditations that I read before I go into the loving kindness, she talked about fear is cold. When you're feeling fear, it's like, oh, I'm cold, I'm tense. Love is warmth. It's like sitting by a fireplace. And so, it's that kindling warmth within us. So the felt experience of love might be that sense of warmth. It might be a sense of, I just feel embraced by divine love. I just like I'm in this bubble being held, in this aura of divine love, this energy of divine love. It could be a flow of energy within our bodies. It could just be a sense of, I just feel really peaceful and calm. There's an emptiness but also feels like a wholeness. It's at both and of that. Could be just a sense of resting, could be a sense of stillness, could be a simple feeling of the rhythm of your heartbeat. What does that heartbeat feel? I'll be honest with you, as began today, we went into that, the saying of, may I be here and now. I'm not sure who it was, if it was Randy or someone, but kept repeating it. And it was beautiful. It was like, wow. It wasn't the way I was practicing it for tonight, but it was like, wow, that voice was just, it was warm, it was inviting, it kind of was soothing. So that really, for me, was also the felt experience of love, that one person in our small group repeated those words in a loving kindness way. And I don't know if anyone else just felt that within them just in that few moments. So has anybody, just to take a moment, how have you ever experienced this sense of this felt experience of love? What was it like? How would you describe it, recognizing that words are never going to be adequate enough? But what did it feel like in your heart space? Anybody want to share?
I will.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go, Lynn. You spoke first.
Oh, no, that's okay. All right. Well, I was just going to say that I've been doing centering prayer for about the last 10 years. And Thomas Keating, who originated centering prayer, says it's resting in the embrace of God. So that's the sense I get. But I also, there's more than that. There's a sense of a feeling of tapping into energy as well. So as we read through that list, I thought, oh, I've felt most of those things at different times. So I'll
Yeah.
pass.
And to recognize that is the felt experience of divine love. And each one is different at different times. Yeah. And to be able to name that, whoa, I'm connecting with the divine energy within me, that loving embrace. Yeah. Yeah. To name that as truth. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
I think the main thing is it feels safe.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Very
I
cool.
was just gonna say that I I mean, I've felt different things at different times, but I would say just like, yeah, this energy and warmth in like centered in the chest area, but like a supported, just sort of like I'm lighter and supported, not just by myself, but by, whatever I wanted to name it at the time, this universal energy or something. But I would say that that's my experience.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. And it's that sense of I know that I know that I know
Yeah.
it is what, and I don't even want to name it because the minute I may name it, it's yeah, but in the heart space, yeah, that's what it is. You've connected with it. It's connected with in you with you. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, and Brian, one thing I'll mention is and just because I think it's particularly relevant to loving kindness, um, which is often deemed the smiling meditation,
Yeah.
uh, is that, that sense of love, it makes you want to smile and brings you,
Yeah.
happiness. It's a full feeling, and it's a natural physiological, biological, physical response, right, that you have,
Yeah.
which is why it's so natural to this type of meditation, the smiling technique that we'll
Yeah.
we'll talk about, get into.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 It makes us want to smile. It just naturally, like you said, it naturally puts that smile on our face. Like, whoa, this is good stuff. Yeah. I like this. The brain gets happy. Yeah. I sometimes experience, and again, like all of you said, it's the beauty of it is it's like it changes all the time, and it's cool to just not have to attach to try to name as one thing or another. It's just, but when it's present. So I've also experienced it when I sit in meditation and maybe I'm just kind of down. I'm just not feeling connected with God and or myself, and just scattered, and I just sit there and a lot of times it's a conversation that I'll have with God, go like, I just, I can't feel you. I can't feel your connection. I just need you to hold me. And in that language, in that honesty with the presence, I sometimes will feel literally held, kind of like you were talking about this energy. And it brings tears to my eyes, tears of joy, like, oh, kind of like, thanks, I needed that. But it's like, wow, I'm being held, and and the creator, God, the divine, or whatever, it has heard my heart's prayer and is responding. It's like I'm in this relationship, and she, it, uh, is holding me, and that's sometimes it feels good just to acknowledge I miss you. I don't feel you. Yeah. So there's that honesty and then the response sometimes that I feel. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I can share, Brian.
Yeah.
I was out taking a hike, probably sometime last year, and I was just praying, kind of the way you're talking about. I just wasn't feeling that presence, the presence of the divine love, and I just was praying and voicing to the divine, like, I just want to experience your love. And like right when I said the word love, I looked up and like on the dune, these roots from these trees. It was just like this perfect heart. Like I couldn't have, and I'm like, for a second, I tried to like reason, like, okay, like, and then, but it was just like, it was like for sure, this was like God showing me, like, hey, look, like, I put you here in this exact time. So when you pray the word love, like, you would see that. And it just like filled me with this like vibration of warmth and love. And I just started like weeping, like, yeah, it's there. It's always there.
Yeah. And you were awake to it, Seth. That's the beauty. Some people would have just walked by, but yeah, you were awake to, wow, wow. Yeah. And the body experience of the tears of, yeah, so cool. Yeah. And so, that's that felt experience of love that we'll talk about is a big part of it. So basically, if you had to, and again, I kind of look at, this is the, kind of the theory, and that we go to school and we learn different things, but then we go out into the real world and we practice it, and it's nothing like we experienced, but we've got this kind of template to lean into. So, when I became a lawyer, we learn all this stuff in the textbooks. And then I remember the first day in law school, or at my law firm, it was a litigation law firm, and the partner comes to me and says, "You're going to go do a pretrial conference." And I'm with the judge and the other attorney. I'm like, what's a pretrial conference? It's like, okay, I got to take everything I learned. Oh, that I learned about that in civil procedure, right? So I had to take everything I learned all of a sudden, and it became that I had to kind of like learning to walk. I had to take the concepts and have the experience. And now, I practiced law for 40 years. doing a pretrial conference is no big deal. But so these are the basics that become kind of a template, background that Bhante and the TWIM group is teaching from the sutras. The one is, as Cam mentioned, it's the smile. The smile is, and we'll take each one of these apart next to look, a little bit more. But the first is this smile. The second is the metta or the mantra, that feeling loving kindness. So we might say to ourselves, may I be happy, may I be patient. We began today, may I be here and now. So it's whatever, you're kind of resonating with it, may I be X, Y, and Z. So that metta, that mantra, or it could be an image if that's easier for you, an image of someone or something that brings you joy, a baby, a good friend, a spouse, a partner, experience in nature that, like, yeah, so it's something that just draws you into that heart space. And then the felt experience of love, as we talked about, feeling that unconditional love radiating within you. And as Bhante keeps reminding us, and the other teachers from the meditation center, is that's the object of our meditation, is the feeling of love. What does love feel like within you? So those are kind of the three building blocks that we'll unpack. So the smile, as Cam mentioned, is huge, because science tells us the beauty of, I think, as you see this convergence, back in the days of the Roman and Greeks, they created the universities and they took everything apart. We studied philosophy and religion and math, and that was good. We understood, but we've kind of evolved in the age of enlightenment. I think, therefore I am. Oh no, I've got it all together in science. No, I've got it together in philosophy. We begin to kind of fight all of these, when what I think is happening is there's a convergence of, well, science and spirituality, they're speaking the same thing from different languages. So science would tell us when we smile, it triggers the release of calming chemicals in our brain, neurotransmitters, the natural dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and they're associated with feelings of happiness and pleasure. And it's a reward and reinforces behaviors. So as Bhante says, our brains like to be happy. When we smile, our brain goes, oh, that feels great. And what it does is it allows us to not focus just on one thing. It allows us to be kind of have a collective observance of ourselves. So Bhante would say, for example, the breath meditation is a good thing, but in the Western culture, we've kind of isolated. Okay, feel yourself breathing through. When okay, I'm supposed to breathe through. Do I feel the air coming in my nose or out my nose? And we get caught in the technique. And what happens is our mind becomes very divided, because I'm trying to just think about this one thing. When what the Buddha was teaching us is the mind desires to be aware of everything collectively, not attached to anything. There's an emptiness and a wholeness, basically. And so when we smile, the brain goes, I like that. I like that. It reinforces. And so we want to come back to that. So it restores our inner peace physically, mentally, and spiritually. Invite us to lighten up and laugh. It also invites others to mirror back the healing and uplifting power of a smile. And it's probably one of the most important of those three legs that we talked about of the loving kindness practice. It's probably one of the most important part of the loving kindness practice. When sitting in meditation, as we'll experience, the first thing we do is bring that smile to our face. Throughout the day, we can bring ourselves back to that smile, noticing how it radiates love in our heart space. It can transform our moods and open us to that pathway of joy and wisdom. As I began to practice this, I began to really experience it, and tried throughout, like when I go to the gym, I try to kind of practice, if I'm getting grumpy or like I put a smile. Well, it's interesting. There's a woman there that I see all the time, and she's an older woman. She always has this scowl on her face, and so I was thinking, well, maybe I could practice loving kindness, toward her, as opposed to being, gosh, we wish she would smile. So I started just saying gently to myself, may her face be filled with joy. And all of a sudden she smiled. And her face was beautiful. And I saw her, and I can't even remember her name now. I'll call her Joyce. I said, Joyce, you have a beautiful smile. And she just radiated with joy. It made me happy. and it made her happy. Every time I see this woman at the gym now, and I go about 5 or 6 times a week, when I see her, we smile at each other. And it's like, wow, it makes me happy. It makes her happy. And so it just reinforces it. Wow, this isn't just something I do on a meditation cushion. It's something I can bring into my day, and it works basically. So it transforms us. So it makes our brains happy, and it's something we want to continue to do. The other is that mantra, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I live with ease, whatever it is that we need. So the second thing is, so we smile, and then we offer something as a mantra. May I be happy, may I have experience inner peace. It just concentrates our mind, body, spirit in that heart space, connects us together into that loving kindness. And again, we can do it on the meditation cushion, walking, driving in traffic, or walking down a busy street. I find with me, as one on the Enneagram, I'm always impatient. It's like, ready to go, let's go, let's go. Even though I'm retired, I'm like, oh, I got to get this done. And so again, with a smile, I'll smile. And then I go, may I be patient? May I be patient? So it's kind of like I offer myself, what do I, the virtue or what I need right now? May I be patient? May I be calm? May I feel safe? So we can offer that mantra both on the meditation cushion when we enter into that with a smile, and during the day too, when we find ourselves in kind of a negative space or disconnected from that stillness within us. So again, the Buddha would tell us, begin by directing feelings after the smile of loving kindness toward yourself by repeating a phrase or affirmation such as, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I feel connected to the divine, may I be safe, whatever it is that rises up that you offer. Or like I said, you can recall an image that makes you happy, a newborn baby, a puppy, a kitten. So that's kind of the second piece that we bring into that practice. And then again, the third piece is that awakening to the felt experience of love. I love St. Teresa of Avila says, Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Basically, you're the hands, you're the feet, you're the body of Christ on this earth. And to really transcend that, to comprehend that on a deeper basis is, wow, I am the incarnation of love in the world. Chardin, when I was in the living school with Richard Rohr for 3 years, we studied a little bit of Chardin, and his world vision. Was a French priest, Jesuit, mystic, and a paleontologist, a scientist. He taught his worldview, and again, it's just a theory, and I just kind of one I adopted is God or the divine has always been this spirit of love, this immense, wonderful, always was, always has been the divine spirit of love. And at some point, billions of years ago, the divine spirit says, I'd like to put my spirit of love into matter. And so Chardin would say that explains the Big Bang. God says, I'm going to put a spark of divine love and light in everything that I create, be it human beings, plants, animals, dogs, everything is going to resonate with that spark of divine love. And so much so that our deepest desire is to experience the awareness of, wow, that's who I am. I am the essence of God's divine love in me as me. And then our desire is to create more love in the world. Why do we adopt pets? Well, we want to love them more. We want to receive and give love. Why do we, those that have children, why do we have children? Why do we find a mate, a partner in our lives? Because we want to create more love in the world. So why do artists and writers, and why do we use our talents and gifts? Why do we create music in the world? Because we want to create more love in the world. And so that divine spark of love and light is within us and needs to be cultivated and developed until it matures, until we awaken. That's why I learned so much from Cam on that it's not I got to figure it out intellectually. It's already here. I awaken to what's already present within me, that I am. That doesn't even need a definition beyond that. I am, which is, when you think about that in the Old Testament, when God appears to Moses, and Moses says, okay, you're telling me I got to tell the Israelites that God sent me to lead them and tell the Pharaoh, that God wants me to take them out of the desert. Right. Kind of like that Bill Cosby. Seriously? And then Moses goes, okay, who should I tell him is sending me? And God goes, I am. And if you look at that, again, something I learned from Cam is, I am, and jump in there, Cam, if I get this wrong, but I am the eternal. I am the essence. I am. Yeah, tell Cam, what is it? What is the I am again? Help me expound that a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, you nailed it on the head, Brian, and ultimately, it is that which cannot be explained with words. So
Yeah,
that's why this feeling meditation is so powerful, because we are experiencing it, right, as it is, and not using concepts to describe it or point to it even. We're literally embodying the essence of God. And yeah, and I am is all that is.
exactly. Yeah. So it's that felt experience, of love. Yeah. And like we said, it could be a gentle warmth, a tingle, a heartbeat, a flow, the rhythm of the rising and falling of your chest. We've already, each one of us have pointed to different ways of experiencing it. And the beauty of it, it's like, wow, I often feel like, if you think of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, you know, my world as a Catholic Christian was pretty black and white. And I'm grateful for all that. I learned concepts and but it was like I lived in Kansas, black and white. The whirlwind comes, I want to go deeper in my experience of God. And, and all of a sudden, the house lifts. I begin to learn from new people about the contemplative lifestyle. And all of a sudden it feels like, wow, the house lands. I open the door and there's the color, the technicolor of the yellow brick road. It's like it just gets deeper and deeper, and there's no end to this mystery and this beauty that's as real and yet as mysterious. So it's like all of a sudden we begin to say, yeah, that's what that love I'm experiencing, and I can name without naming it. So again, that sense of the felt experience of love is the object of our meditation. God is love. We are love. We relax, deepen into, return to that love, which is who we truly are. And it's also that part of letting go of what society and we've told ourselves. It's letting go of that mind-made self, that false ego. I am a lawyer, was a lawyer, I am a lawyer, but that's not who I am. Begin to shed that. I'm so much more and more deeper than that. So again, to recap, the 3 steps are smile, the metta or mantra, that feeling of loving kindness in our heart, may I be, or the image of something that draws you into that space. And then the felt experience of love, feeling the unconditional love radiating with you, the embodiment of love. What does that feel like within me? Yeah. So one of the things that, you kind of ask here and say, okay, so why do I want to spend 30 minutes every day meditating and contemplating all this? Oh, I did something crazy here. So you kind of look at, unfortunately, in our society, we're kind of a goal-oriented society. So what are the benefits of it? What can I expect if I practice this? Bhante says, if you practice it for a few days, you'll begin to experience loving kindness and it'll become more natural to you. If you practice it for a few weeks, you begin to experience and it'll become more natural for you. You experience these things that we'll talk about. You spend a year practicing, 7 years, 20 years, it just becomes like learning to walk. We begin to integrate these things. It becomes naturally a part of us. So many would say that we cultivate compassion. We develop those genuine feelings of love and compassion toward ourselves and others. One of the things the Dalai Lama says about our Western culture is he visited Western cultures. I can't believe you in the West that you don't have a good self-image of yourself. You're always beating yourself up, And so what is it? And it's part of our culture. Maybe some even our faith traditions taught us mea culpa to a bad extent. So what the loving kindness practice does is it allows us to cultivate love for ourselves. And then as we begin to embody that, experience it within ourselves, then we're that vehicle of love to co-create in our lives. We awaken to our essence, our I am. The Buddha would say that the primary causes of suffering that we go through are craving, I want this, and attachment. So, I use the example of I wanted this friendship to work, with this Dave guy. I felt sad for him, and I met him a couple of years ago at the gym, and I wanted to do a book study with him, and I wanted to fix him, and he didn't respond. It's like, oh, and I recognize, oh my God, he's just not, he's not in a space where he's ready to respond, and I can't fix anybody. I was craving to fix him, or was attached to, I needed him to affirm me as somebody. So, what we do in the loving kindness is we're able to recognize, oh, okay, yeah, I'm attached to this, or this is a hindrance, as we'll talk about in the loving kindness circle, and the monks to come, we'll teach about the hindrances. And we reduce the suffering because we're aware of it. And then we can really change the neuron pathways in our brain to let go of those things and begin to experience the loving kindness, joy, equanimity. We're more centered and calm, regardless of outside circumstances, whatever happens, even, good things, bad things. We experience more of that inner peace. Our relationships with ourselves and others become more loving. We know how to respond. And certainly that spiritual growth, we awaken to these deeper levels, the jhanas, that again, the Buddha teaches. There's 4 levels of understanding that when we're practicing loving kindness, we can go in and out of. And so we, move through these deeper levels of understanding as we get out of the way and empty ourselves. We experience more and more that divine guidance, that God's unconditional love, and we remember who we are. So as a practical way, I would just throw out there. So, my day today, to show how, again, I'm certainly just a novice on this, just beginning to experience it and practice it myself. But so I begin my quiet time this morning. I do my 30 minutes of loving kindness meditation. I put the smile on my face. I'm, may I be happy, may I be happy, da, da, da. And I just felt that warmth. There was the embodiment of, wow, I just felt this warmth, da, da, da. And that's okay. That was really cool. And I always end with some form of just honoring the divine. So in my tradition, it's glory be to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, was the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. So I have a picture of Jesus smiling. Interesting that I picked a picture of Jesus years ago smiling, knowing that probably that's why I would end up learning along the path. But then I walk out the door and I walk my dog, and I'm continuing my loving kindness practice, for my spiritual friend, Ralph, may he feel peace today. And, my family, may they experience joy, happiness, may suffering end. And as I'm walking my dog, 2 things happened. One is there was this beautiful bird. I'd never heard this bird song, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's just this beautiful song. And I was aware of it, but I didn't try to grasp it. I didn't like, oh, what kind of bird is that? I had no idea it was. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter what kind of bird. It was the song that captured the essence. And all of a sudden, it was like I kept hearing this song for just the bird song. And what rose up with me was, that's beauty. I'm experiencing this bird song as beauty within me. And it was just like, wow, like I could have had a V8 basically. It was like, it was just beauty. And I didn't need to go any further with it. I didn't need to analyze it. It's kind of like, Seth, you mentioned when you saw those roots, in the shape of you just knew that it was God expressing, love to you. And in this case, it was beauty. And I just received it as, wow. But not only that it's the bird's beauty, but wow, God, that's what beauty feels inside of me, the essence. And I'm walking my dog, and I'm noticing, I wasn't even aware of my feet. I'm walking in a little bit on the pavement, and I was thinking like, my grandson, who's 1 year old, is just learning how to walk. And so every step he takes, this ran through my mind as an insight. He's like, cautious about it. He's like, and then he falls sometimes. And so he's just learning to be aware of his feet, but he's getting used to it. It's becoming natural. And I was thinking, the insight rose up with me was just out of the blue of, wow, I learned to walk years ago, and now it's just a natural part of who I am. that's what this loving kindness practice is like. It's like, yeah, I have the concepts, but I don't have to work real hard at it. I just continue to draw myself back to them. And so that was an insight. Then I go to the gym, and my buddy Ralph is there, and he's just recovering from 2 weeks of having pneumonia, just getting back to the gym. And he's just grumpy. He picks me up at my house. And here's where where the bridge for me is, how do I make this work in, the loving kindness practice? So I get in the car and he's like, hey, Ralph, how's it going? He's just grumpy as heck. My normal response would be, oh, I have to fix this. Oh, Ralph, come on, what's going on? And it's like, no, I began to offer loving silently. May Ralph be at peace. May he be at peace. Da, da, da. And I, kind of just, hey, what's going on in Nunzi, his nickname Nunzi. What's going on in Nunzi's world? And he goes, nothing. Nothing. Man coding. It's like, okay, that's okay. I know man code. We do that well. Da, da. So I just, continued. Da, da. We get to the gym. He gets on the elliptical. We always do 30 minutes of elliptical. And I'm on my elliptical and going away doing it. And he can't get his to go. And he's just angry. He's like, God darn it, not swearing, but he's like, these machines, they don't work, da, da, da. And so I'm all of a sudden absorbing his negative energy. And I'm like, oh, so rather than jumping in, oh, Ralph, all you have to do is be patient and let the machine reset itself, which is what I normally would have done, which he didn't need me to do. I just, again, offered the loving kindness meditation. I came back to myself and just let him be in his space, basically. And after a few minutes, he just said, screw it. I'm going to walk the track by my, da, da, da. And again, my knee-jerk reaction was, oh, I probably need to walk alongside of him on the track. And, I need to help him work through this. The one on my Enneagram, was telling me that. But what did I do? It's like, no, I've just practiced loving kindness. Like, no, I'm just going to stay here. He probably just needs some space to work through it. And so he walked for about 10 minutes. And as he walked by the track, I could see him. I offered in my own mind loving kindness to him. He comes back after 10 minutes. He goes, he's laughing. He's going, oh my God, I'm such a drama queen. He says, I'm just tired of being sick. I'm tired of having low energy. And he started laughing. He had worked through it all by himself. And so my point being, by practicing loving kindness and smiling and offering the loving kindness mantra, it allowed me to just be present to myself and not do my natural knee-jerk reaction of, I got to go in here and be the teacher and fix him and stuff like that. Does that make sense? So I offer that of, wow, it is a practice, isn't it? And the more we practice it, not that I don't think we ever arrive. I know I'm not going to ever arrive, basically, but we can continue to practice it and recognize when we're caught in that, that unconscious state of not being aware, being angry, negative, and we can draw ourselves back to these three practices: the smile, the mantra, and the heartfelt experience of love. And as I, reflect back on that today, it's like, wow, I kind of did a good job today, just staying out of his way and being present to myself. So that's the fruit, I think, of the practice. It begins to be like my grandson that's learning to walk. It becomes more and more our automatic response. We can also recognize when we're trying too hard, when we moved up in our head and like, oh, I gotta, so we can also back off, as Bante would say, just relax and take it easy. So if that makes sense. So quick question. Let me pull up my screen again here. How does that practice sound before we actually, how does that resonate with you? Any questions? What does it sound like to you? Have you experienced loving kindness practice before? Does it sound like something that resonates with you? What do you think about these 3 steps? Anything that rises up with you?
Yeah, I used to, back in the 90s, kind of in between churches and stuff. I mean, I'm Catholic. I was, born Catholic, wandered somewhat, but, I used to in between practice some of these things, practice meditation, and I became a Reiki master at that time, and learned how to actually, draw energy through and and through people. And some, you could actually feel, in a sense, what what was going on with that person. But I've learned a lot of these practices. I think the Western society and the Western church sometimes has made me feel guilty about going that direction, you know. But I'm sure God had me at that place. I was just come out of a church, just just bummed out what the things that were going on to it, but it's a place I think where God wanted me to be at the time, and I'm want to put that more into my Catholic faith. Into like Brian is talking about. Um, yeah, I felt that back in 1970 when I became a Christian. Um, I felt that Wizard of Oz, that um, Dorothy thing, to where my buddy took me up to 5 Mile Hill and says, "I think you're ready to accept God and Jesus into your life." Yeah, it was, the world was black and white. I'd come out of some atheism of a sort, and all of a sudden, man, looking down on Grand Haven on that 5 Mile Hill, is everything was in Technicolor.
Yeah, there you go.
I think one of the biggest feelings of love.
Ah,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. You're on the yellow brick road, as we all are.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah,
Yeah. Elton John. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very
No, I'm
cool.
kidding.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so the just continue to the practice may resonate with people. It may not be, I mean, I think again, it's not like there's a one size fits all. I think what we do is we have a spiritual toolbox. What are the tools, the practices? Okay, we've got the intellectual stuff that we learn about, do we believe in God? Do we believe in a divine power? All that good stuff. But then it's like, we buy a house and we got to go out and buy a hammer and a saw and a screwdriver. You got to have good tools to maintain that house. So it's the same thing for our souls. It's like this is a tool, a spiritual tool, that we can put into our spiritual toolboxes. Before we actually do, and in a few minutes, we'll do a guided meditation. The other thing I love about Bhante and the TWIM Meditation Center is we all get distracted. I mean, welcome to the Western culture. The mind's always trying to entertain itself. So many people over the years, as a spiritual director and myself too, that people would just say, "I'm throwing in the towel." My father-in-law is one who he's, "I can't meditate. My mind just goes crazy." And I get, I mean, that's normal basically, because the mind wants to get new information. But I love what Bhante teaches in the TWIM Center is he calls it the 6 R's. So and it's really a huge part of when we get distracted, we recognize it. So we begin, oh, okay, I'm distracted. Yeah, okay. I'm distracted. I'm thinking about this thought, or, it could be a ladybug just landed on my hand when I meditate. There's a lady. So we recognize that, or we recognize I'm doubting whether this practice is doing, whatever it is, a thought or something that, right, we just recognize it. We release it, and we'll break each one of these down in the next couple of frames. We then relax. We relax our mind and our bodies. And then we return to that smile. We probably have lost the smile. So we re-smile again, which again triggers the brain to get happy and to lighten up. And then we repeat. We go back to, we return to that felt experience of love within us. And then we repeat the 6 R's every time we're distracted. So we break it down. In the first thing is we're sitting in meditation, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm over here thinking about what am I going to have for lunch today? Oh, I recognize I've been taken away from the object of my meditation, the feeling of loving kindness. So we notice it, oh yeah, I'm kind of thinking about lunch today, and we accept it. We don't fight with it. We just say, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And we recognize, be gentle with it. We don't slam the door on it. If we fight with the thought, it's just going to be more and more. Like, I know when I was in my 30s, I picked up the habit in my 20s when I was in college of smoking cigarettes. And in law school, I would just smoke cigarettes left and right. When I was 30, I'm like, oh my God, I got to quit this. And the more I would think about, I can't smoke a cigarette. I can't smoke a cigarette. The more I wanted a cigarette, quite frankly. But when I replaced it, I stopped thinking about wanting a cigarette. I stopped, craving it or attaching myself to it in my thoughts. I began to just write, well, maybe I'll just get a lifesaver instead. And so I found a different, thing to replace that thought. So I accepted the fact, yeah, I do want a cigarette, but I don't need it, and I can let that go. I can befriend it. So I didn't slam, as Bhante says, don't slam the door on. No, I can't think this anymore, because it'll just get even stronger. We're just aware of it. We recognize it. And then we release it. We just stop thinking about it, and they say, scientists will say, if we stop thinking about something within a minute or two, it will just go away. They talk about in the 12-step program, if we want a drink of alcohol, I kind of have a craving for alcohol. If I just stop thinking about it within a minute or two, that craving is just going to go away. If I, as the Buddha says, don't serve it tea, I don't serve the thought tea, I don't entertain it, I just release it. I stop thinking about it. And that's the beauty, because all these 6 steps go together. They're not like I do this and then I do that by itself. It's kind of a process, like learning to walk. So we release it. And the important thing is we relax. I didn't realize it, but Bhante teaches and Twim teaches that over our brain, the left and right part of our brain, there's a thin membrane. And when we're tense, or when we're thinking intently about something, that membrane gets harder. It stiffens basically, and then we kind of get into that stiff, that fight or flight or run away theme. It's called the arachnide, and when we think too hard, that membrane tenses. So we want to notice how when our forehead tightens, what it does to our brain. We literally calm our body. So we recognize, oh boy, my forehead's all tight and crammed up here, basically, So we release, our foreheads and our jaw. We might take a breath, and Bhante teaches that the purpose of our breath is not to focus just on our breath. He says it's a reminder to relax our bodies so that our wholeness returns. So the breath is just a reminder to, okay, I can relax my mind, my body here. And we, just remind ourselves to breathe, basically. Think about, for a minute, if you would, just put like a grimace on your face, the meanest, angriest frown, like, just for a second. Tighten your face and what do you notice about when you do that? What do you feel? Does your body feel
Heavy,
tense?
very
But
heavy, and
heavy.
just, uncomfortable, like an
Yeah.
unease, right?
Yeah.
Kind of frozen, like locked up.
Yeah. That
Feels
defensive,
unnatural in this space, which is telling.
unnatural. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. And now take a moment and put just a gentle smile on your face. Just a gentle Buddha Jesus smile. And what do you notice? How does that feel? How's your body feel?
Yeah, much lighter, relaxed, and just whole.
Yeah. I feel a sense of flow. Like you've mentioned, Susan, about that locked up. When I smile, it's like the flow of energy, it's in thoughts, and it just like, oh, I just, like I just jumped into the swimming pool, how your body goes, it feels so good. Yeah. So the flow again comes back. So again, just being aware of that, oh, there I'm tense again. Oh, the body leads us in that aspect of it. Yeah. So we relax, we re-smile. Again, that smile spurs that chemical reaction in the brain. It releases the dopamine and the serotonin, that feeling of happiness. Yeah, we just put a gentle smile on our lips, but also recognize the smile can actually emanate into our eyes, or we can feel our eyes smiling, and the mind too, in the sense of the mind going, Thanks. I needed I needed that. I needed to relax. It pulls us back in that feeling of loving kindness, balance, and joy, and it lightens our mood. Just like, the gal at the gym who had that frown on her face, when we smiled at each other, it's just like, yeah, it's just, life is really cool. It doesn't have to be so heavy. It's really just about being in the present moment to each other and stuff. So, yeah. So, and then we return to the mantra again, like, may I be happy, may I be calm, um, or the image of, something or something that brings happiness. And ultimately, as we move through these different phases of understanding that we'll talk about in the loving kindness circle, those that choose to go further, we'll do some teachings on that, is ultimately we get to a point where we don't need the mantra anymore. We just naturally we let it go, and we begin to really notice that feeling, the felt body experience of love within us. It's the object of our meditation then becomes the felt experience of love within us. And we notice when we're in that, I'm feeling that love within me. And again, we move in and out of it. And we might, Keating talks about in centering prayer, someone once says, what happens when I've got my word that I'm praying with, but my mind gets distracted and I want to, and Keating says, 1,000 times to come back to the presence of God within you. So we come back to the word. Here in this practice, we come back to the object of our meditation, which is that felt experience of love. And it may happen a lot to us, particularly for me, it happens a lot, during the active part of the day, also during my meditation time, but more so during the day. But my slowly, I'm learning through the practice is to go back to the re-smile, to go back to what the feeling of love feels within me. And I'm already, maybe I've been practicing for 6 months or maybe 8 months. I'm already seeing how it's changing me on the inside very, very slowly. So we return to that, and then we repeat it again. So there's that wheel that recognize, release, relax, re-smile, return, repeat. So I love that there's just a gentle practice that we can use when our mind is distracted, or when we're trying too hard. One of my problems is, my buddy Ralph will say, well, I'll talk to him. We go to coffee after the gym, and I'll talk to him. And he said, God, like all you do is talk about these concepts, and it drives me right back into my brain. And I said, you're right, Ralph. I try too hard. I'm getting in the way. I'm back into this. Cam has taught me my spiritual ego is attached to, I got to get this right. So I begin to, I'm trying too hard. So just relax, just relax, just go back to that emptying, and going back to, the 6 R's again. So Bhante would say, when I'm not feeling that loving kindness, what do? Practice the 6 R's some more, which sounds so simple, but it's really an amazing practice as you use that. So
And hey,
makes sense.
Brian,
Yeah.
if I may just add one comment to this, and you did such a beautiful job describing this overview of the 6R process. One thing when I was at Dhamma and learning from these guys directly this technique, they emphasized that what we're really recognizing in terms of when we use 6R is we're recognizing when we've entered an unwholesome or unloving state of mind. So it's just to say that the 6R process and technique is not if you just necessarily have any thought, right, at all that enters your mind. It's when there's an unwholesome thought or you've forgotten the love that you are. Because otherwise, the implication is that you're aware of the love and you're holding it in your chest. It's loving awareness, right? The 6R technique is a way to return to the love. And the recognition is that you've forgotten it, or it's like, okay, I've lost awareness, remembrance of the love that I am. That's the recognition, whether that's fear or anger or doubt or any other unwholesome, unloving state. We recognize that we've lost it, and then you release that unwholesome state, right? And then you come back into relaxation and you smile, you've returned to the love, and then you repeat it again when you've lost it again. And we keep doing this over and over and rewiring, retraining the mind so that we come into a more continuous, sustained state of wholesomeness, of love. and we
Uh,
carry that through with us throughout the day.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that helps cement that even more. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, yeah. I think of it also retraining the brain to be happy, because that's its natural
Right.
state.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I like that. Yeah, whenever it's an unwholesome thought, because having a thought is not a problem.
Right. Right.
That's not the bad thing, having thoughts. It's the unwholesome thoughts, the unholy thoughts, the negative hindrances. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you for that. That's good. So yeah, I think, maybe we'll just take a few minutes here. Do you want to try to practice this for a minute? And go into the quiet. And I'll just kind of walk us through, kind of doing that. So let me just. So yeah, if you'd like to get comfortable, if you're feels like a good space, just kind of feel your body there where you're sitting. If you'd like to close your eyes, maybe take just a couple of cleansing breaths to just relax your body, your mind, your body, your spirit. Just be aware of this moment here and now. Be present. Some people like to place their hands on their chest above their heart space just to have that physical connection with the heart, if that feels comfortable. But and then just bring a gentle smile to your face. Notice how that smile just uplifts you. It is actually releasing those good chemicals into your body, your brain, all of you. And consider if you'd like to, whatever it is you feel that you need to just form a mantra within yourself, such as, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be here and now, whatever it is that you feel that would be loving kindness for yourself, that you'd like to offer yourself. Allow a mantra to just gently nudge itself into yourself, your heart space. Or if there's an image of a loved one, a pet, place in nature, use your imagination to allow that to draw you into that heart space, which either one works for you. And draw your attention, your awareness to the felt feeling of love radiating within you, the object of your meditation, love within you as you. What does love feel like embodied within you? Might be a warmth, might be a flow of energy, might be your heartbeat. right? Simply feeling a sense of inner peace, comfort, safety. Whatever it is, just be aware of what love embodied within you feels like now, here. And stay with that object of your meditation, love within you. If your mind is distracted, just use the 6 R's to recognize, yep, I'm off here in this other thought, this negative thought. Release it. Relax your body, your face, your jaw, your shoulders. Re-smile if you've lost your smile. Just put that back on your face. Return to that felt experience of love radiating within you. And whenever you need to, just repeat those 6 R's, knowing it's just a place that allows you to come home again, home to your essence of who you are, home to you, your truest self in the divine, as the divine. And when you're ready, just return to an awareness of your body sitting here in this time and place. And gently allow yourself to open your eyes and come back to the circle. Now, normally we would do that for 30 minutes in a loving kindness practice, or maybe longer, but recognize even in those few short moments, what did you experience? What was that like? What did you notice?
Well, with me, Brian, um, I felt such a fullness and calmness and just stability,
Mm.
a deep stillness that uh, just was growing within me, and I call it like the great okayness. It was just a sense of safety and wholeness, and yeah, there's warmth and glowing. The imagery I used, I tend to use like a little baby smiling, or it's that, or a little kitten because I love cats, and
Mhm.
or um, just any type of memory I carry sometimes that just brings me, a big smile to my face, and it's that unconditional love, um, that innocent love that we all are, and that's yeah. So it was just nice to experience that in that moment, and I mean, can you imagine what life would be like if you were able to have that type of fullness and the awareness of that in every moment of this existence? I mean, it's possible, right? That's Christ consciousness. It's the embodiment of Christ consciousness.
Yeah. Very cool.
Well, I do have to confess, I started doing centering prayer halfway through, just by habit. I started saying my sacred word, and then I realized, oh no, I'm supposed to be saying, may I. But anyway, I did say, may I be relaxed and calm. And yes, it came to be. So
Yeah. And one of the things I think is, yeah, there's no right or wrong way. It's just noticing what's drawing you into that presence. And yeah, centering prayer is a wonderful practice, and but this is a little, like, you notice, a little different way, and you experience the fruit of that sense of calmness as you turned it into the mantra that you were seeking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the beauty of it is, we don't beat ourselves up for any, it's like, whatever, that's why life is called practice. It's all about, like, my grandson learning to walk, yeah. I felt, so my mantra was, may I be patient. May I be patient. May I be still. And as I just held that, I felt, I felt like a wave of love between all of us. Like at the beach, how the waves flow forward and then go back and recede. The image was that there was love flowing between all of us here, in this virtual circle. Like, I could feel my love extending out from me, from the divine in and through me, and then love being returned back. And it just felt like, wow, this is loving kindness. This is who we are. So it was just very affirming of, wow, this is love. This is love. Yeah. It reminded me of the Heart Math Institute. Some of you science talks about the fact that there is an energy of love. And when we individually experience love, it increases the vibration of love in the whole universe. And they actually measure it at different places. And so we may not think that our loving kindness practice makes a difference, but it's increasing the vibration of love throughout the whole universe, basically. So to think what we just did for 10 minutes or so, it just increased the vibration of love throughout the world. It's like that, talk about a ripple effect, So yeah. And that's what my feeling was, like, wow, we're experiencing that increasing the level of love flowing throughout the whole universe, among us and also larger than us. Yeah.
My mantra was just, I am loved. I am loved. And but right there at the end, I just got this image of, like, when you blow a dandelion and the seeds flow, and just being the seed, just like this light being carried by the wind of the love of the divine, which is, like, so unpredictable and mysterious. And yet all we have to do is just rest in it and be light in it. And we go where it takes us, and we are planted where our journey takes us. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
What I was doing is what I learned. I was bringing God's love through my 7 chakras, and kind of just at the end, just kind of shook all the tension off. And man, I just feel like I'm floating. I feel like high, man.
Yeah. Natural high. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
Well, I know I need more practice because I mean, I did feel good sometimes, I was able to concentrate sometimes, but certainly my mind wandered a lot. I also felt how much tension I have in my face, and and it's sort of like, how when um maybe you've been tense for a long time, or you've been tensing up your arm and you don't even realize it until you start to relax.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I need practice.
Yeah. Well, what Cam reminds me, because it is your mere awareness of that tension is an awakening. You are awakening because, 80% of us probably go through life not even aware of that. And all of a sudden we have heart attacks and hardening of the arteries because we haven't awakened. We're in an unconscious state of not even being aware. So I have to, and I appreciate Cam and our coaching sessions reminds me of, well, you're just more aware of the tension or the whatever it is that the hindrance that is an experience. So just that awareness is the awakening. You are awakening. So it's like, wow, how cool is that? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Susan, one thing also I'll just mention to your comment because I think it's relevant and uh, good to, it affirms this experience right now. But we when we sit with loving kindness meditations, we sit much, much longer. When I was at Dhamma we would do 3 to 4 hour sits in one sitting. And that first half hour, even usually of sitting itself, is just calming down that monkey mind and taking you out of the beta brainwaves, which is when we're like clicketing, clacketing, and doing all these analytics and whatnot. It allows us just taking that time itself is the window to bring us into alpha and then down into theta, where we can actually start to do that inner work and change from the inside out and most deeply connect with that loving essence that we are. So to experience that type of distraction state, only doing this for 5-10 minutes that we did is very normal. And if the longer you sit, the deeper into stillness you'd come. And that's when you'd really experience the magic of this meditation technique.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. 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 Cam, in one of my sessions, he says, I want you to meditate for 2 hours. And I'll be honest with you, it's like, really? So I tried it one weekend. It's like, okay, I can do an hour at a time, because it is challenging. I mean, in a good way. It's training those muscles. But yeah, the more we practice, like Cam was saying, the more it becomes, we go deeper and deeper. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. So yeah, that's question. Somebody have a question or okay. Um, so that's the meditation. Again, kind of the practice is that we to really enter into this is trying to spend 30 minutes every day practicing the loving kindness meditation. The TWIM Meditation Center and Bhante teach that 30 minutes is important each day to the extent that we can. The first 10 minutes, he would teach us to focus on loving kindness for ourselves. Exactly what we did just now is that mantra or image, and then the feeling of the loving kindness, that felt experience of love. And then radiating loving kindness to a spiritual friend. And then he would suggest that after your meditation, if time permits, then to go for a walk and continue extending that loving kindness to your spiritual friend, to your family, the city, state, country, the world, whatever rises up with you that you want to extend. And again, in the heart math aspect, scientifically, we're raising the level of vibration of love within ourselves. We're awakening to our true essence, and then we're receiving that love, being aware of it, God's divine love in us, and then being a vessel to spread that love beyond us. And then again, during the active part of the day, that's for me, this is the bridge I was looking for. How do I take my meditation practice into the active part of the day? And so returning to that smile, focusing on love within you whenever you need to recenter and reground yourself. That to me is one of the most powerful pieces that I find with this practice. And again, it becomes ultimately a natural habit where we just draw back into that the more we practice it. And again, over the course of days, months, and years, it begins to transform us into the I am of who we are, God's divine love in human form, beyond words. There's just that I am, and we begin to awaken to the true essence of who we are. I often think of Jesus. And, on one hand, some people say the divine part of it, and he knew everything, and he knew who he was. But boy, if you watch the Chosen series, I don't know if anybody was watching that, you see the human part of Jesus. And I need to relate. Yeah, certainly God is divine, and yeah, that's amazing. But I also have to recognize the both and of the human part. And some would say, and you see that in the Chosen, Jesus had to come into an awareness of who he was. He's reading scripture and he's saying, oh my God, this Messiah that was promised, that's me. Oh my God, I have the power at the Cana wedding feast. I have the ability to change water into wine. He told his mother, my time is not ready. And my sense is Jesus had to, over time, really remember who he was. And it was that meditation with the divine, with God, going to the desert every day, the meditation time, but also affirming, who am I? And certainly none of us are Messiah. I wouldn't think. I know I'm not, but to be aware of the fact that we are the divine essence of love, not the fullness of love, but the essence of love. And the world tells us we're not. The world tells us we're something else. We tell ourselves we're something that. So this practice allows us to really, awaken to who we really truly are and let go of the onion skins out there. So that we bring into the day, the practice basically. So one of the things, I often experience either professionally when I go to a workshop as a lawyer, oh, you learn these wonderful things, or when I go to spiritual workshops, it's like, oh, I may practice this stuff I learned for a day or two, but then I'm right back in, the world, the day takes over and da da da. I was telling Cam earlier when our coaching session, years ago, I went to Promise Keepers. Oh, you climbed the mountain. I'm a real man, da da da, and then you come down from the mountain and you're just back to your old habits, and like you're all alone by yourself. So what that really reinforced to me, and we talked about at the beginning today, is the importance of community. That if we're going to be part, develop a loving kindness practice, what would it be like? And we do this with an inner compass group that I facilitate online and then in person in different aspects. But once a month to get together and to practice the loving kindness. So I envision the possibility that those that were interested, those who are online here joining us, and those that are reviewing the thing is, and I'll just pull up the site to this, the Loving Kindness Circle. It's a small group of seekers once a month on Zoom to deepen and encourage each other's loving kindness practice. We join together, and I just threw out, we would meet for 3 months, so that's not a lifetime commitment. The groups that I've facilitated, we say let's agree to meet for 3 months on a certain date. On the fourth, in this case, it'd be the fourth Tuesday of each month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Zoom, starting a month from now, February 27, March 26, April 23rd. And then what we do is at the end of the 3 months, we discern, do we want to continue as a group? Is this really working? Or do we, no, that's okay, I've had enough and this is good. Or if some people drop off, are there other people who want to join us? And what I envision is in each one of these groups that will facilitate, we'll do a check-in. Just how's your loving kindness practice going? And it's a place of being saying, I haven't done it for 30 days or whatever. Well, that's fine. There's nothing to be, or it's really working good, but I've got some questions about it, or I'm struggling with this. It's kind of that question of, what am I experiencing? How, if I am growing spiritually, what are some of the hindrances that we're encountering? We'll do a teaching. Bante and Twim, amazing stuff that they teach. He talks about the hindrances, the 5 hindrances that we experience. So I'll teach a little bit about those. There's these 4 jhanas, the levels of understanding. One month we'll talk about that. And my thought was, I'll also throughout the month, maybe once a week or every other week, I'll just send an email with a link or a short video, just a teaching for us to continue to learn about the loving kindness practice and keep us connected. We'll then practice a little bit longer than tonight. We just did 5 to 10 minutes, so we'll maybe spend 20 minutes in a guided loving kindness meditation. Reflect like we did tonight. How was that? If you want to offer, what did you experience? What insights, words, images? Just so we're affirming. Wow. you're experiencing this. Wow, this is, I'm not crazy. I always, when we do these groups, I love it when people share their own spirituality because it reinforces that, okay, I'm not nuts. What am I experiencing? At the Living School, James Finley was one of our teachers, and there's a group of 400 people in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was teaching us about meditation contemplation, and people were sharing their experiences, and we're all, oh yeah, yeah, that is so cool. And I've experienced, we're all kind of affirming, and I loved it that Finley goes, if we walk outside of this room and start talking about this to people in the hotel, they're going to lock us up, or they're going to call 911 and say we're crazy. There's just not places to be able to share these experiences to affirm, that yeah, my experience might be different than yours, but it's the same universal truth of the same experience. So it gives us language and affirmation about that. So that reflecting, and then do a closing prayer mantra to carry us into the month, and also to extend that loving kindness out into other people. If you're interested in joining, just kind of a commitment that you would be as much as you can to practice the loving kindness meditation each day in your own quiet space for 30 minutes, using these teachings that we're learning. If again possible, attend each one of the three gatherings. We're making a commitment to each other that each one of us is an important part. Just like tonight that we joined, people are going to be reviewing this recording, and your experience tonight is teaching other people. We've taught each other. So if possible, unless certainly life happens, try to attend all three. If you can't make it, just let me know by email. Nope, Susan can't be here. There's a gal today that I went to high school with, said, "Hey, Brian, I can't make the workshop tonight. Oh, thanks, Debbie, for letting me know." Da da da. So we'll hold each other in loving kindness. And throughout the month, we begin to form community. That's what we found with this Inner Compass group that we started last year. That we met for 3 months, and the group, we've really formed a community. And the fun thing with Zoom, there's a gal in New Connecticut and Michigan, and another gal down in Atlanta, and we've really formed, which is kind of fun, a community just by joining once a month. My wife always teases me. She says, "At what point, Brian, do you start trying to pay for the Zoom that you have on a monthly basis, the website that you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, whatever." So my coaches have been encouraging me to just, if possible, to just ask for a contribution. And again, don't make that a problem. I just thought $10 a session, so $30 for the 3-month circle. If you can, it will help continue spreading the loving kindness meditation to other people and practices. And again, if it's a burden for you, just shoot me an email and say, Brian, I can't do 30, I can do 5, 10, or nothing. And that's not the issue. And then my email is there. To sign up, there's a registration link here that you can find. I put into the chat, and I'll pull it up, the link to this. It'll be in the email you'll get with the recording probably tomorrow. So, and it just tells you, look, this is what you'll pull up, is to look at this, and there's a little video about the loving kindness practice that we experienced. Yeah, and so what we'll do is, the reason we're waiting until February 28th is to give us an opportunity to learn more, to begin to practice it. I can set out some teachings along the way in the small group. Yeah, so that's just a way, if we want to go deeper and join a community around that, it's a way to do that. So here in the chat, if I can pull that up. So in the chat, there is that link, www.findingflowlife.com, loving kindness meditation workshop. Again, that'll be in the email you'll get if you want to. So any questions about that or anything before we do a closing meditation mantra? Any thoughts? Yeah.
I'm not seeing the link in the chat.
Oh, that means I'm not very good at. Well, let
But
me.
it could be me. I'm
Yeah,
not very.
I put it in earlier,
Yeah.
and maybe
I don't see it either, actually.
Yeah, no, it's not there.
So let me cut and paste again. Let me see if I can get it now. How's
There we
that?
go. Thank you.
It might have, the word workshop might have got cut off. I think I cut that off.
Uh,
Let me try it once more. One more. Yeah, there's the yeah, with the forward on there. So yeah.
That worked. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, sounds good. So before we do a closing mantra, thank you everybody for being here, for your presence. Yeah, just I mean, amazing what it does when we join together. And hopefully, again, the goal for me is that you receive the tools of the practice as kind of a template. But also it's a bridge into the daily part of your active part of the day that you can begin to actually incorporate these also into the rest of your day too. So I thought what we would close with, let me do the next one here, is just a mantra. Is that we're really kind of blessing. Mantra to me is just a blessing. It's a sending the energy forth. So I thought maybe together we could just say this as a group, and then we'll close from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start together.
All beings have happiness and
Happiness.
causes of happiness.
Causes of happiness.
May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow.
And we are
May all be separated from the sacred happiness which is sorrowless.
May all
May
live
all
in
live in
equanimity
equanimity without too much attachment, too much aversion.
May
May
all
all
live
live believing in the quality and
quality and
goodness
goodness
of all that lives.
Amen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bless.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian.
yeah. Good seeing you all.
Nice
Have
to
a
meet
good
everyone.
Good to meet
Yeah.
everybody.
Good meeting you
Yeah.
guys. See you
Take
soon.
nice to meet you.
Namaste.
Bye.